Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdicus Dave, and today I am joined by Jess from Trash Mob Minis. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So essentially, the reason I asked you on is because on Twitter in my feed showed up these really cool, fun-looking, I want to say papercraft style minis that just looked awesome.
Well, thanks. Yeah, you'd be correct. It is, I guess, a form of papercraft. Is
I know like you sell them over on Drive Through RPG, and as well as you have a Patreon, I believe, where you distribute them as well.
Yep, you're correct. Yeah, it started as a drive-through type thing, where I was just releasing packs, and then I just kept doing it, and it made more sense to shift to Patreon and do monthly releases instead. And so far, it's been pretty popular.
So the minis you do, they're kind of like a little bit on the cartoonish side. If I had to describe them, they're like a lot of fun and they're colorful.
Yeah, thanks. So I have a background in animation, and I realized, looking at, if you've seen like Pathfinder Pawns and just the general look of fantasy art is kind of dark and overly complicated, which
Yeah.
looks fantastic as illustrations, but when scaled down and put on a dark tabletop, doesn't translate very well. So I realized that using a lot of animation design principles, so shape language and silhouette, translates really well to a tabletop situation.
So have you had any complaints from DMs that are just like I love your stuff, but I put it on my table and then my players won't kill the monsters. They're
I
too freaking adorable.
that happens. I've gotten a lot of, oh, no one wants to kill these kobolds because they're too cute, which sorry, you know. Uh, but also it is a role playing game, and if that's how the players choose to interact, that's also an interesting situation that you can get into.
Also, folks, as always, there's links in the description as well, so you can go jump in there and click around and take a look and for yourself at the minis because they are a ton of fun to look at. How many minis have you made so far?
Oh God, maybe 400 at this point.
Have you considered, hear me out, papercraft theater yet?
You're gonna have to elaborate on papercraft theater. What?
All right, so you
What?
got all
What?
the figures, all right, right?
Yeah.
Now you can just like put them on the screen, do some funny voices, move them around, tell stories with them.
I. That's a good idea. I could. I've definitely done some goofy videos wiggling guys around. Uh, it's also just a time thing.
Yeah, I'm sure it
where,
is.
where
Well,
I
I feel like you're talented enough to get rid of that pesky day job. It's just a matter of getting the word out there and figuring out how to monetize that talent.
oh, that's a good idea. I'm working on it.
Listen, we get a box, right? You paint the inside of it. There's a couple ways you
Okay,
could do it. You could do it
okay,
completely
okay.
digital, or you could go old school and get like a box and you paint it up like a stage, and you print out your guys and you put them on popsicle sticks. Or you can actually do it digitally. But I'm really
I like
old
I
and
like I like
archaic.
the yeah I like the old school puppetry style
Yeah,
that's got a certain charm to it.
I
So
think there would be an audience for it.
here's a little guy.
Oh
It's kind
yeah.
of English, catching some. So yeah, that's kind of the style. Uh, yeah,
So did these find their way to your table first, or was it just a thing you started throwing up online first?
started using. I was we had just started playing fifth edition around the time it rolled out, and I wasn't aware of really the D&D online community and fandom. It's just something I'd been playing with my friends, and I've got kind of my own distinct style in how I draw, and I couldn't really match like minis for my character. and decided, start making. It's also like, you know, the DM didn't have a ton of minis, and I like to play tactically. And so it's like, oh, I'll just start making these minis and, put some sets up on drive through. So it was something we definitely started using first that I was just uploading as I went along. And then it kind of snowballed into its own thing.
Yeah. So I mean, we've partnered with companies like Arknight, and they've done minis for us that are just about done for out of the box encounters. They've actually turned me, Ted, and Nate into dwarves. There's also other companies like Skinny Mini out there that kind of is very similar to what you do. So there definitely
Yeah.
seems like there's room to evolve, and you have like this unique style.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's kind of uh, something I bring is there's a very established fantasy look
Yeah.
that I partially started this because I wasn't getting any jobs in fantasy art, which is what I really like because I don't really draw those highly rendered, cool looking guys. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to do this myself. And it turns out there was a market for people that wanted Saturday morning cartoons on their table.
A friend of ours actually did a 5e bash called Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh, it sounds awesome.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It's like 5e like tweaked up to the nth degree, but in a more like cartoony way. It's definitely a lot of fun. Like giant shields and huge swords.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. I think they have it up on RPG drive through. Drive through
Oh,
RPG. I always mix that up.
I'll have to take a peek at that later.
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, you got a bunch of people following you on Patreon and following you on Twitter, and the response has been seems pretty good to what you're doing because it's a lot of fun and colorful. Which, like you said, like we don't really get that in a lot of the D&D stuff we do. Like it's kind of dark, and
Yeah,
sometimes
which
you just
is
need something different.
yeah, and it is strange that kind of our uh, general view of fantasy is very realistic,
Yeah,
which you'd think that the fantasy genre would have a lot of room to kind of goof around. So that's kind of what I like exploring is this cartoon side of fantasy that you don't really see too often.
yeah. I mean, why would you not? So currently, are you gaming more or less during the apocalypse?
Um, about equal, just differently. I used to run a game in person, and I
Yeah.
would play another friend's game in person. But now my game's been mothballed, and then I've been moved to my friend's game online.
As many of us have.
I definitely don't. Even in the before times, I didn't get to game as much as I'd like because it's difficult to wrangle half a dozen adults to the same place at the same time.
Yeah, add full time jobs and
Yep.
running a art business on the side.
Yeah.
All that stuff kind of adds up. So what's the biggest mini you've done so far?
Oh, is in size?
Yeah.
I've got a T-Rex. That's one of the bigger boys.
Yeah, I guess
Oh,
that would be, is that huge or gargantuan?
so 3x3. Oh, here's something I did for uh Retroverse. This in my bag. So it's a big. This was a commission for the Retroverse
Oh, nice.
Kickstarter, and it's a B-Rex, and it's a 2.5D mini. So you have elements that stick out. I guess it's more of
Oh,
a maxi at this size.
that's pretty sweet.
Definitely kind of because when I first started, it's trash mob minis, which the initial idea was, oh, here's a bunch of skeletons, a bunch of goblins. Here's a cheap way, buy a PDF for $2, and then you have as many goblins as you want to cut out. It's
Right.
trash mobs. and I never intended to make large or huge creatures because those are usually like tent pole encounters. That's for your real minis.
Right, right.
These are your cheap little throwaway mobs that whatever, cut them out. If you need 30 goblins, you don't have to break the bank. But now I'm definitely, since I started running, started seeing a lot of value in having these, huge sized creatures that are flat, so you can slide them in an envelope to transport them.
Yeah, they store nice and easy.
Yeah, it's nice being able to uh, keep your entire, all the minis you need for a session in like a binder sheet.
Do you? I take it you take commissions as well.
Off and on. I do. I'm so swamped right now that that's been closed for a while.
Yeah.
But
What are the burdens of success?
I know it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, do heroes. A lot of tieflings and half elves. That's the most common uh, hero requests I get.
Tiefling and half elves. Yeah, I could imagine. I imagine so. I mean, even like we do a lot of character builds,
Mhm.
and it's so easy to pretty much make anything with a halfling or not halfling, half elf because of
Yeah,
their stat array. They're super
yeah. I mean,
versatile.
I'm not complaining. It's it puts more tiefling and half elf minis out there for people that needs them. you know, Definitely at my tables that I've played at or run, there's always a half elf and always a tiefling.
So do you have a like most requested mini?
Oh God. Um sure I do. I think griffins. I need to do some griffins.
Okay.
Uh a lot of Eberron requests. Uh so like Warforged and Shifters and Changelings, and never for the other one that everyone forgets. Whatever that other, there's like another Eberron race that I can't
Kalistar.
remember. Kalistar, that no one has ever requested or been interested in.
I
But
can't believe it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate baritone barbarian because
is
they're
it?
mean.
Oh,
They have resistance to psychic damage.
oh, damn, that's handy. Yeah, whenever I get a lot of emails like, "Hey, you should do Eberron stuff like Warforged and Shifters and Changelings." And no other
And nothing else.
and those are them. Those are the only Eberron people.
As the Kalistar cried themselves to sleep in the corner.
I don't know. Because I picked up the Eberron book. I wasn't familiar with Kalistar, and I'm still not, even after reading it. One of
Yeah, so I guess like I was exposed to Eberron in 3.5 and I read a lot of the novels. And the like the Dreaming Dark and the Inspired were kind of cool
Mhm.
additions to the game, and it's Psionic's done it in a little bit of a different way. So it's like these the Kalistar and I guess their enemy, the Inspired, are these like dual souls from this other place that kind of get linked to them. That's like this dreaming world that
Hmm.
cycles through like nightmare and dream, depending on who's in ascendance or whatever. Um, so it's a little bit of a different take on psionics,
Huh.
where it's tied to the kind of like the dream world.
I guess from my design nerd side, they don't really look like anything.
Yeah, they look like kind
Like,
of like
they just look like
pretty
guys.
humans.
There's
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
Yeah, like that's the fun thing about Warforged is they look fun to draw. They look
yeah,
they look fun. Big old Alphonse Elric stomping around out there.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but
Chunky boys.
yeah, but then I don't. I definitely, from my design perspective, there's definitely some fantasy peoples that aren't interesting to me because it's like, oh, it's just like a guy. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, that makes sense.
I think kind of the core, like the core PHB races really all kind of have a unique uh, silhouette. So you can tell a dwarf from an elf, from a half orc, from a tiefling, but then you have all these kind of other guys are just like, oh, he's a guy. you know.
Do you have a favorite race to draw?
Half orcs and dragonborn and kobolds are my very favorites.
And what is the appeal to those folks for you?
Oh God, I mean, for Dragonborn and Kobolds, I'm a big reptile and dinosaur nerd. So it's just I like drawing reptiles,
Yeah.
and I've always liked half-orcs. They're kind of I like kind of the more kind of Warcraft style orc where they're just kind of big Hulk gorillas,
Yeah.
instead of the old school pigmen. But
Yeah. It's funny. Like that is such an old trope now. There's
yeah,
so many people that don't even know they were originally like pig people.
yeah, just pig guys. Yeah, it's and like it's I'm also like a folklore nerd, so kind of
Yeah.
seeing what because I read all the D&D monster books, and I like to then go research all the where is this from, and kind of how D&D has stratified all of these folklore creatures and gamified them. And in some cases, they're just like, oh, we don't have enough things, so let's make so like kobolds and gnomes. Like kobold is like the base word for gnome. Like kobold, gnomes, and dwarves in like Germanic folklore are the same thing.
Okay.
But then D&D was like, well, we need three creatures,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
let's just split this thing into three things. you know. And,
Yeah. The kobold. I forget. we were. I think we do a newsletter, and I think we did kobolds for the one, and I was kind of looking into it. And kobolds are very in mythology are very very different. There's different types.
yeah,
Like they could be just dudes that like hang out on your ship, and
yeah,
like they might help you out if you're nice to them.
yeah, but they're effectively, gnomes, or they're
Yeah.
elemental earth creatures that just want to dig gems. Like the mineral cobalt is named after kobolds, and so going from that to now they're little dragon boys, which I love. I guess they were, in what second edition they were little puppy boys, and now they're dragon boys.
I was going to
To
ask you how you feel about the original kobolds.
uh, I mean, I like I prefer the little dragon boys because that's something
Yeah.
different. I remember in second edition they were pretty much just different goblins.
So, well, second edition, they were chihuahuas, scale chihuahuas with horns and rat
Yeah,
tails.
yeah. There's
I'm actually a big fan of them. I've actually reintroduced them into one of my games as the villain, just because they're kind of different looking. I mean, I
yeah.
just use the kobold stats as they are. Yeah, maybe I'll get around to actually restatting them and making them their
Yeah.
own thing.
If the crunch works, I definitely in my games I barely write crunch. Like I'll just
Yeah.
grab a stat block. Like I have maybe like three. If there's something I don't know what it is, yeah, it's got an ogre stat block. It doesn't matter. No one knows.
No, that's fair enough, and I absolutely think that's a fantastic way to run games. I will often, and if I want something like mechanically different, I will often have like D&D Beyond is awesome for this. So, like I'll just have two
Yeah.
different windows open and be like, well, I'll use this stuff from this creature and this stuff
Yeah.
from that creature.
Oh yeah. I in fourth edition they had a whole creature builder that you could
Yeah,
just kind of plug a unique creature together, and I really enjoyed that. You could make a whole new guy out of kind of their lists of abilities and this whole like scaling thing.
that is one of the things I miss about fourth edition, and yeah, I'm hoping to get some of that with D&D Beyond eventually. But I mean, you can still
Yeah,
build monsters over there, but not nearly as simplistic as as it was.
yeah, yeah.
I
4E definitely there's definitely some stuff I miss about 4E. And
Well, I guess like the biggest thing about 4E was it was meant to be a virtual game that never got realized.
oh, yeah, that makes sense because it's all about hotkeys basically. Your
Like
whole character.
I feel like they had some demos like where it was they were going to do a virtual table and it was meant to be plugged into that and used with that.
Maybe I just don't think we were quite there. It was
Yeah,
it,
they
it
had
was
I forget the name of the company uh that kind of went belly up or kind of like dropped the ball that was supposed to be doing it, but it was totally like a whole thing.
that makes I never heard that. It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
because yeah, I can see that definitely plugging in so easily into a program where you're playing a JRPG just
Yeah.
uh, manually.
So have you played through all the editions? It kind of sounds
Uh,
like it, or at least you're knowledgeable of them all.
I haven't played the old what Redbox. I don't know. I haven't played the prehistoric version. But,
Yeah, yeah,
started playing. I guess we call it second edition now. It was AD&D.
yeah.
Whatever came before third edition because we played. So I guess that would have to be second edition if my understanding of numbers is correct.
It
But
sounds accurate to me.
all right, checks out.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, but we were kids, so my understanding of second edition is probably a lot different because it was our interpretation of us figuring out this, what THACO was, uh, and then third edition, uh, which is a lot more system based. Played a ton of that, which I enjoyed. Yeah, so I've second, third, fourth, fifth, little bit of Pathfinder, so that's third. you know,
yeah. I mean, I personally have a really tough time distinguishing between Pathfinder and third edition
yeah,
myself. Yeah, Shalander mentions his BECMI edition, which essentially is the red box.
okay,
Which it was kind of like its own game. I think it had something to do with when TSR was like broken up between like Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax. But the OSR movement kind of came from that system because you had like the red box, the blue box, the green box, the gold box, that you could kind of like
yeah,
transition through.
okay, yeah. That's all kind of before my. That's all stuff I read about in the historical legends
Yeah,
of tabletop gaming. So I wasn't really around for that, and even second edition, it was our limited what we could because we're all out in the woods, is what we could pick up on our rare trips to the city at
yeah.
stores that actually carried this stuff, which was kind of rare.
Well, so you mentioned that, right? And we were talking a little bit, beforehand, like of like your home life and how you grew up. I don't know if that's a secret or not.
No, that's fine.
But you grew up on an organic goat farm, out in
Yeah.
the woods. Like, so how does one, get introduced to D&D from
Uh,
that?
just other friends at school, I think we were just, I was still a nerdy kid,
Yeah,
and I think nerds attract nerds. Like we could get a hold of like Magic the Gathering. So I think I was playing some of that in middle school. Yeah, so there was still, definitely access to nerd stuff, which I mean, a lot of it I was really interested in because it had the best art. I
yeah.
think that's why I played Magic was to get decks of cool pictures.
How is your parents with that stuff? Was there any like vestiges of the Satanic Panic left over?
No, my folks are, they're hippies, uh, so they didn't really seem too concerned about it, and I was already pretty firmly a weird art kid.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So, and also, like they, didn't anymore, but, they had a bunch of friends through like the local, community theater and whatnot. So it wasn't exactly a strict environment as far as, nerdy stuff goes.
yeah.
Uh, like I don't have a religious background. That was never something that was really enforced on me. So that kind of whole concern uh, just doesn't exist for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my folks weren't very religious either, so it was
yeah,
kind of the same. And we would joke about the Satanic Panic, while
yeah,
playing the game, and like I think it would be stuff that would show up on like Phil Donahue back in the day.
yeah.
And I think even Maury was like still was around back then talking about stuff.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, I was surrounded by goats. Those already look like Satan.
yeah,
you know?
yeah. So you could have like had your goat skin cloak and
Oh,
you're
they
ready to
wouldn't have
run.
they wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah. Just blend in. Well, because you mentioned like trying to figure out the game and play back then, like because it's for us it was like pre-internet, so it
Yeah,
wasn't like you could
yeah,
just go watch Matt Mercer and see how he runs the game.
yeah. It just that whole. I mean, I don't think I was even aware of gaming conventions. It was just some weird books with cool drawings and math in them that my friends and I got together and told stories and rolled dice and kind of
So
muddled our way around.
do you play other RPGs as well?
When I can, I definitely don't get to play nearly as much stuff as I'd like, just because of it is a time investment. You got
Yeah.
to gather with a bunch of other people and do math.
You
Uh,
you have anything on your radar for 2021 you'd like to get in?
oh God, I've really been in love with Ryutama. I just haven't. Like I have the book. I even released some Ryutama minis, but I
Uh,
haven't gotten around to running it or playing it.
I am not familiar with that.
So it is this beautiful uh, Japanese tabletop RPG that is kind of colloquial called Miyazaki's Oregon Trail. So it's much more about travel, uh, which is funny because that's like the part like in D&D I do not like traveling and resource management.
Uh,
But this is like an Oregon Trail type game where it's all about what you do during travels and dealing with weather.
Now, is that a newer game?
It's been out for a few years. It was localized from Japanese. Uh, I Granted, if anybody watching this knows if there's a big community, let me know. Like because I can't find too much in English about it.
Oh yeah.
Whenever I do find Ryutama stuff, it's either in Japanese or Spanish. Weirdly,
Huh.
uh,
Okay.
but yeah, it's I really like kind of the soft JRPG artwork it has. It just the combat system is very JRPG based, where it's in ranks. So you have like a front row and a back row. Uh, the DM, as far what I've read, like there's a DM NPC that's like a dragon that kind of guides the travelers.
Oh, that's kind of different and cool.
Yeah, it has a lot of cool ideas. So yeah, that's one I would really like to try out sometime, or get enough of a handle on to explain to a few friends how to play it and run it. you know,
How were the minis you did received for that game?
really popular. I just don't think there's a lot of Ryutama stuff out there.
Uh,
So yeah, I released kind of the in D&D how there's iconic monsters like beholders and elithids. In Ryutama, their iconic creature are called Neko goblins, which are little cat guys that carry their stuff on their head in a pot,
as you do.
as you do, and they're cute, iconic little guys. And I did a set of them. Oh, let's see if here's some. So here's like a
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's your banner over on Patreon, I believe, right?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, so here's a cute little Neko goblin with a pot on her head, and yeah, I just thought that. So that's kind of the iconic creature of that world. And I still get requests for more Ray Thomas stuff. I just haven't had a chance to make it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Is there any other genres you want to branch out into?
Oh man, I'm pretty comfortable in fantasy right
Yeah.
now. Uh, I get a lot of requests for sci-fi, uh, but like short answer why I don't want to draw sci-fi is I suck at drawing machines.
Okay.
But also sci-fi is a lot more kind of granular, where fantasy, you can have pirates and knights and cavemen and goblins in the same world. While sci-fi, you have like, grimdark and cyberpunk and all these various properties like, Star Wars and Star Trek that all have drastically different technologies and looks that
Yeah.
don't translate you know, from setting to setting.
Start with Starfinder. It's kind of like the
Yeah,
transition.
I get a lot of requests for Starfinder. I should really do some of that.
I imagine you would. I mean, because
Yeah,
I think it's probably like right now it's like
yeah,
D&D, then Pathfinder, then probably
yeah.
Starfinder as far as
Yeah.
popularity.
Also,
So
D&D. I'm familiar with D&D, so I
yeah.
know kind of what I'm drawing well. I'd feel kind of uh, like disingenuine if I were to work in settings I didn't know, like that I
Mhm.
don't really have any background with. While with D&D, it's like, oh, this is stuff that I'm interested in. These creatures, they're old friends, you know. Uh,
I totally get that because we'll be asked like, "Hey, can you do a character build for this or D&Di's this character?" And I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. I definitely get. I mean, which is the fun thing about just being a nerd in general is there's so many just nerdy properties and avenues, but
yeah,
I can't I don't I'm not familiar with all of it, you know.
yeah. I mean, there's always more stuff, more
There
cool
is.
stuff than there is time.
Yeah, like I've just kind of had to accept like I know nothing about Doctor Who and there's so much of it and I just like that's just going to be my nerd blind spot forever. You know.
Yeah, like yeah. So like, I've never really played Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, my nerdiness is like very focused. It's like
Yeah.
basically tabletop RPGs, and I really don't steer very far from there.
Yeah, it's but that's that's your nerd interest and it's kind of I guess as far as being a nerd goes, it's kind of interesting. So it's like, oh, I feel like I need to be versed in all of these interests,
Yeah,
and
like I got a
like
lot of friends that are into anime, and I'm like,
yeah. Oh, I'm a big anime dork.
yeah,
I'm
that
a
makes
big
sense.
old
Also,
weeb.
being an
Yeah,
artist, that seems like
yeah,
a natural fit.
yeah. Like that's definitely the game I was running in the before times was definitely anime inspired. Like
Okay,
D and like fifth edition, like the power creep of fifth edition kind of uh, translates really well, like one to one to a lot of how like shonen anime operates. So
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
oh, I can just run this as a game, and
yeah. You don't have to do much.
yeah, yeah, I don't have to do any. I don't know, like there's a certain side of people that likes to. Oh, if I modify D&D for this or that, and it's like I don't want to do all that math. I have these expensive rules. I just want to use these rules,
Yeah.
you know.
So you said you do monthly drops on your Patreon for minis.
Yeah, I usually have a theme every month. Do a 4 pack of minis. Each one has a few skins. Uh, yeah.
What's this month's theme?
This month, God, I can't even remember. Oh, flying things with wings. So, like a harpy matriarch from Ghost of Saltmarsh,
Uh,
and a Varguil, which is like a flying head. That
oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I love those. They're like terrible.
yeah, yeah. I've never encountered one, but they seem horrifying. Uh, what else? An Aarakocra, which I can't spell. And
Yeah, I struggle with that one as well.
yeah, that's one. Yeah, and a flying monkey. So that's this month's set, January set. Excuse me. Allergies, sorry. And
No,
then
no worries.
February is all loaded up and ready to go. February set is next month is the 25th anniversary of Pokemon Red and Green. So the set is Pokemon themed, using inspired by the sidekick rules from Tasha's.
Okay.
So it's Kobold sidekick. So you have the are you familiar with sidekicks, the spellcaster, expert, and warrior
Hmm.
kind of templates?
Not
So
intimately, but yeah, I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you can kind of toss this template on a stat block, and now you've got a sidekick. Uh, so it's kobolds that are dressed like the 3 Kanto starters from Pokemon, but then also assigned as sidekicks. So you have like a kobold dressed like a Bulbasaur, but he's also a spellcaster, and a kobold, one that's dressed like a rogue, but he's red and has kind of a fire motif like a Charmander. So he's the expert. So it's kind of this super tie-in of a bunch of nerdy ephemera distilled into paper minis.
That sounds like a fun project to work on.
Yeah. It was self-indulgent. Just it was something fun to explore. I think I was getting kind of, there's tons of monsters in D&D, but I was just kind of like, I'm just looking at monsters, drawing them, and this I actually got to kind of play with, dressing up creatures in a new way.
And how many skins do you usually do?
Everything has 3 skins on the Patreon, so you get a nice selection. So like with next month's kobolds, if you don't want these Pokemon Gajinkas, you have an option where they're just dressed up like fantasy creatures. So you have just regular rags and armor, so you can just have a normal kobold.
So you essentially get 12 minis.
Yeah. Which, if that's what if you dig that,
I think many people do. So
yeah, and then at certain tiers you get like black and white line art ones. So if you want to color them yourself, or I don't know, I like to put the draw like ink maps and put the black and white minis on. It has a really nice kind of old school, kind of middle school notebook book look.
Oh yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Makes me think of like the posters in the 80s. Obviously I had a bunch of those and black lights.
Yeah.
So with so many minis, is it hard to keep track of them all?
Oh, it super is.
At what point did you have to go to a spreadsheet?
I actually have started a spreadsheet to keep track of how many, like, the different hero permutations I have, because there's so many ways you can dress up a halfling, and now they've added Artificer, so that's a whole another set of heroes that needs to be added to the list.
Do you sometimes do it that way? Like, here, we're going to do the character classes and go through them.
I usually, what I've been doing on Patreon is I'll have like a race. So, be like, here's a female half elf, and then she'll get 3 outfits, and it'll be, a wizard or rogue and a bard. And there we go.
Nice.
Three guys knocked out right there.
Yeah. Have you done 3 kobolds in a trench coat yet?
It's on the to-do list. Definitely. I have to, I like drawing kobolds and reptiles and dinosaurs so much. I have to stop myself from every month just being kobold and dinosaur month.
Yeah. What's your favorite dinosaur?
Oh God. I'm a classic T-Rex guy. I love the T-Rex. I like the it's a tie between that guy and the Ankylosaurus, because it's a big, spiked turtle from hell.
Yeah.
So they're just both cool.
Have you looked at Perdition at all?
I have. I haven't. I've played some Cypher games. I haven't played Predation though.
We did like a demo at Gen Con 50, I think. And my son loves dinosaurs and Ankylosaurus. And he's like, I just want to be the character that has the Ankylosaurus. And so it's like everyone gets their character, sits down to play, they get their dinosaur, and then the GM's like, now pass your dinosaur to the left. No. And you just see his face drop.
Oh no. God, I'm already sold on this game if it starts with you get your character and you get your dinosaur.
Oh yeah, that's the whole purpose. That's the whole point between so Perdition is this like corporate conglomeration discovers time travel, and they send people back. So it's like totally like dinosaurs and lasers. Do you remember Dino Riders, the cartoon Dino?
Oh yeah.
It's that. Like,
oh my God.
They're like, I came up with this game. And I'm like, you mean Dino Riders from back in the 80s or 90s?
Yeah. Oh my God. I guess that's going to get added to the list of games I want to play.
Yeah, and then there's some more complexities to it than that, but like you can have cybernetic.
I refuse to make it complex. I want to ride my dinosaurs.
Yeah.
The end.
Well, no, complexities in the sense of like they're like I think you're like trapped back in time now. But
Uh,
if you do find a way to go back, like you can mess
I am
things up.
not. I am staying in dinosaur times.
But also
Trapped.
they've also
Trapped.
completely messed things up because you have like all this technology that's been incorporated, and there's cybernetics that are being implanted into dinosaurs, and
Yeah, give me some cyber dinosaur. Trapped back in time. This sounds like paradise. What,
yeah,
my cyber dinosaurs?
I think you should do a month of perdition characters and
Okay.
creatures.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah,
Get on, get on that, slacker.
I'm gonna pick that. Yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna pick that up.
It's just another excuse to draw the reptiles and
There we
dinosaurs.
go. That's I barely need an excuse.
Yeah, and you can tell. Well, although it does have some sci-fi elements, but
Yeah, oh, that could be my soft gateway into learning
yeah,
how to draw guns.
yeah. And so yeah, like I said, we played the demo game, and that was fun.
That sounds
Uh,
rad. Yeah, I've
there's
played.
just so, like so many great games and not enough time.
Oh, no kidding. I like the Cipher system. I think their biggest strength is how their books have those margin indexes, so
Mm,
it's easy to reference
yeah,
whenever. Like
like
every game, that should be a standard.
yeah. I mean, many of my friends would just dog ear. Is it called dog ear? Dog tag
Dog
their
ear.
books, and put to add tabs to the sections.
Oh, there should be. That's a to bring up Ryotama again because I'm a big old nerd.
Yeah,
It has a bleed index, so along the edge of the page, the
yeah,
color so you can go to that section because there's a color index bled onto the edge of the page, which I think that's one of my biggest quibbles with D&D is it's held across reference, and so many other games have figured out how to make easy cross-referencing and indexing that it's like, come on, WotC.
yeah. Get on it.
And whenever I'm critical of this, the response always good is use Roll20, use D&D Beyond. It's like, well, I shouldn't need a program to solve a book.
Yeah.
like, like
If
if
I don't
that,
want to use those things.
yeah, if a subscription to a program is the answer to a problem I have with a book, that's not an answer.
Yeah. Yeah. We just finished up a Cypher system game a few weeks
Yeah.
ago. I ran, it was kind of like a mishmash of like Flash Gordon and Thundar the Barbarian
Oh, cool.
meets a little bit of 2020. So it was like a science fantasy post apocalyptic kind of world. So we ran like 12 sessions of that.
Oh, that
Uh,
sounds rad.
yeah, so it was like the game picks up like 55 years after 2020, and the world's been on fire and ravaged by plagues, and it totally just rip off the opening from Thundar the Barbarian,
Nice.
which is like a comet pulling the
Oh
moon
yeah.
into the Earth's atmosphere, which like destroys everything. So so
That
Cypher
is
System is like
that
a
is
great
something.
system.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't mind playing more of that. I mean, I wouldn't mind playing more of a lot of things,
Yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely. I did play some Numenera. I didn't really. That world is so weird. It was hard for me to get it. Like I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. I think at some point I just sold the entire world to aliens because it didn't matter.
yeah.
Oh, I get money.
The Ninth World, yeah. Well, I mean, like Bonnie Cook and Bruce Cordell back in like the 3.5 days, I just chalked up to anything that they did as being weird,
Mhm.
and like I think that's pretty much carried over with the Bonnie Cook Games
Yeah,
company as a whole. Like they just do a lot of weird stuff.
yeah. Which is cool. That's the fun of games is you can go anywhere and do anything. It's just in that case I didn't really have a foundation of anything because I kind of
Yeah,
dropped in halfway through a game and it's like we're in what? All right.
was so as a player.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah, I mean that stuff is really tough too. Like oftentimes I think about it because there's like so much lore already there.
yeah.
You come in as a player and it's like, well, what am I supposed to know? How much of this should my character, already kind of know?
I didn't really have a foundation, I think, in that
Yeah.
kind of world where with fantasy, you can drop in. Oh, I've got a sword, and those are goblins, and I know what my job is.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta do what with the technomancers? What's a technomancer?
So Shanna Germain wrote a book called Poison Eater that I listened to. It was really good. It was set in Numenera.
Okay.
So yeah, so like yeah, like you need things like that to kind of like give you some context.
Yeah.
When you're in there digging around.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely. It seemed like a cool world. I think definitely if I had more of a background in it, uh, I would know. I'd feel more comfortable in it. But
But I
it was
feel
still super fun.
I feel like D&D worlds are kind of the same way. It's just like, but so many people
Yeah,
are just been like enmeshed in Forgotten Realms for so long that they.
that's true. Yeah, you're right. That's true. But I think there's a certain shorthand to fantasy that is easy to lean on. you
Yeah,
know,
like you've read or watched
yeah,
Lord of the Rings.
yeah. The guy in the black cloak with the skeletons, he's the bad one. We got to stop him. Okay, ready, team, go. Get some gold. And it's, you know, I I think it's just part of the DNA at this point.
Yeah. So what character are you playing nowadays?
I have been playing. We're doing a Descent into Avernus game in Roll 20, and I have been playing a Kobold monk. Uh, and monks are a ton of fun. I've been seeing a lot monks getting a lot of heat for sucking,
Yeah,
and I disagree. It's the best class.
best class. Kobold
best,
Monk, best class in race
best,
combination.
just best guy you could be.
So like there like I mean we do a lot of optimization videos, but optimization and fun aren't the same thing,
Oh,
right?
I,
And it also depends on like how you play.
yeah, but conversely, because I do like to read, the rules and look at those optimization videos, and like that's also fun. There's a discussion I've seen. It's like, well, min maxing and role playing are different. It's like I can still be an awesome guy and have fun and play an awesome guy. You know?
Well, I mean more like in the play style, right? Like for
Yeah.
instance, our games have about one combat a session,
hmm
right? The biggest problem with the monk is they're resource intensive.
It's yeah,
I mean, it's the same. It's kind of the same problem with the warlock, right? Like you only get to use this resource so much, and for us, if we only have one combat, it doesn't matter that much.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You really got to know when to go supernova.
yeah.
And,
Us, it's like every combat because we only do one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But we really
Well,
mess our players up when we do two or three. Then they're screwed.
ooh, yeah. That's the thing with Avernus is you're in hell. So you're,
Yeah.
you're kind of always, it is kind of a fun survival game to a point where you're, there's no natural resources. It's all just magma and sulfur, you know, and blood. And so you have to definitely kind of pace yourself, and you're dealing with devils, which are nasty guys.
Which subclass are you playing?
I started with Shadow. I think I'm going to switch to the Astral Forms arms from Tasha, just because
Oh
it
yeah,
didn't
that one's
exist,
pretty cool.
and it looks awesome. And it's I know you're not an anime guy. There's an anime called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure where
I've heard of it. I
you're
have no idea
literally
what it is.
every single part of the astral self is basically a stand from JoJo, which is ridiculous, and I have to play it because it's a
There's
ridiculous
a good
setup.
possibility that's not an accident.
It has to be on purpose that you're just a JoJo
Yeah.
at this point. But also because my kobold, I was started with the shadow thing, and I don't really get it. I'm not too interested in sneaking around, which is all what shadow is. I'd much rather just run my guy in and punch.
You didn't want to be a ninja.
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool at first, but also kind of that kind of sneaky style of play is boring to me. Or
Yeah.
you have the sneaky guy go out, and then everyone comes up, and the sneaky guy goes and scouts, and I don't know that I don't really like that momentum. You know,
Although Wave Shadows did get a little bit better
oh, yeah?
with the release of Tasha's if you're using the optional rules.
I don't think I haven't really looked into it.
So,
But
well, I
you're
like one of the optional things is if you spend key um, to do an ability, you can make an attack as a bonus action.
oh,
So,
awesome.
because I guess when you take the tradition at first, you get those spells that you can cast
Yeah. Oh,
as your action. So technically, now you could use your bonus action and attack
oh my God.
as well. But I feel like it was mainly there to fix the Way of the Four Elements monk,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because they have their own problems.
Because yeah, it's just why don't you just play a druid, loser? You know? uh,
Yeah, but druids weren't airbenders.
yeah, yeah.
There's my there. I shot my load on anime.
On yeah, well, technically it's not anime because it's American.
Dope.
If you want to get really, I know it. But
Yeah, push the glasses up. Well, take one.
uh, yeah, I haven't. There's definitely a lot of interesting kind of optional power creep in Tasha's that
Yeah.
looks like a lot of fun that I haven't quite dug into. But no, I like the astral arms. I want my kobold to have like astral Tiamat dragon heads sprout from his back and
Oh, nice.
go ham on devils.
So I did play one of those when it was still UA. In a one shot, James Introcaso ran his Planet of the Invasion of the Tarrasque.
Oh yeah.
So I played a 20th level one of those, which
That
was
sounds
a
rad.
lot of fun. So I played a monk with no arms,
Oh,
and they would
cool.
just summon his astral arms.
Oh, that's cool.
I know, it felt like it was like really tropey for like the old like Saturday afternoon kung fu theater style movies.
Monks are a lot of fun. I think that they're underrated in that sense where it's just really awesome to be able to get anywhere and punch something 30 times.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. And then like the abilities like, oh, I can just fall from any height and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like they're just they're monks are your just most belligerent drunk college buddy. It's like, I don't care that I'm naked. I'll beat the crap out of you. I'll fall off a building. Poison, bring it on.
We were for a while. We were running an annual Thanksgiving Eve Spelljammer game, and I was running it. And then something came up where I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to run it this year." So Ted's like, "Oh, I'll run it." And that thing that came up fell through. So I was like, "Oh, cool." And then I'll play in your game this year. And I played a Drunken Master Turtle, which was a lot of fun as well. Drunken Masters, one of my favorites. It's like for the thing about them is like they can do all the things you said, like run up and punch something, and then not be there anymore to be punched back. So,
Oh yeah, that's the fun. I took you have the mobility feat, so you can go hit somebody and run away, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So Brian wants to know thoughts on flexible racial bonuses from Tasha's.
I don't have any thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just weird. It's dumb. I was just like, why don't they just come up with alternate stats and everyone just lose the bonuses altogether?
I think it's one of those things. Whatever your table wants to do. I personally kind of like each race having its own set of bonuses and abilities. But also that's the world I've grown up in. That's how
I feel the same way. It's like I prefer this, but don't really care.
But if you, I mean, also point by kind of ancestry building looks like fun. I don't have experience with that brand new setup, so I can't judge it.
Yeah. Pathfinder is kind of interesting because like the way they do it is it's like you have your heritage, your ancestry, and then your class, and they all like here's a +1 to this or that, and then here's another one to put where you want it.
I was looking at that. I really like that.
It gives a nice mix of, well, you're doing this thing, and here's the inclination, as well as here's some choice.
I like that. That's I don't know. I that is something I was reading about, how like your background actually mechanically works in more. I haven't played any second edition Pathfinder, so don't have experience with it. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely with fifth edition, your background is kind of useless most of the time. Like, oh, I'll get my two skills, and
Yeah,
that's
so
it.
like the way to look at a background and see if like someone designed it right or wrong is to see if it
Yeah,
does anything. If it does
yeah,
something mechanically, they did it wrong.
yeah. It's something I forget about in fifth edition, where it's
Yeah.
you get a few bonuses at character creation, and then ooh, I don't care that I was a sailor. you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I mean, I guess like I the I feel like the idea behind like the feature is it's supposed to be something where you can gain a benefit if you role play,
Yeah,
and I kind of like that.
I do too. It just also feels vestigial at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, it all breaks down to what your table's doing. You know?
No, absolutely. And well, I mean, that's the great thing about the hobby too. It's like
Yeah,
you can play however you want to do. If everyone wants to like, throw their stat bonuses at wherever they want willy nilly, go for it.
yeah,
If not,
yeah,
and you're a purist, don't do that either.
yeah.
I
In my game. I definitely just throw some rules away. You know?
I just want to see a couple of things. I want to see alignment go away because it doesn't have a point anymore,
Yeah,
or have it make a point, one or the other.
yeah, yeah.
Choose. And like I want to get rid of the stat number and just
Oh
use
yeah,
the
just the
modifiers.
modifier. I mean, a lot of games just have the modifier.
Yeah, oh
It
yeah,
is, it
because they
is.
looked at it and go, well, this is dumb. Why do we have
Yeah,
it's like extra math for no reason.
yeah. For this weird, yeah, nerd tax return, I have to extrapolate all this data
Yeah.
from.
That is a great analogy there.
Yeah,
Nerd tax return.
yeah.
That's funny. So what can people expect from you next?
Oh man, just monthly minis. Swing on my. I post on Twitter and Instagram. Just check out Trash Mob Minis if you want to look at drawings. Next month, we got the Pokemon 25th anniversary Cobalt sidekicks coming up.
Yeah.
Got a set of plant creatures on the list. Got a lot of skeletons coming up. I think March gonna be skeleton month. So got like the Skeletal Alchemist from Ghost of Saltmarsh. I've been previewing that on Twitter.
Oh, cool. Do you
Yeah,
do like
it's
holiday themes?
uh sometime like for December, I did a bunch of stuff from Frost Maiden, so
Mm.
seasonal themes. Uh, in October, I tried to do either something spooky, or last October I did Orktober, so everything was orcs. Uh,
Oh wait a minute. Did you say March you're doing skeletons?
yeah,
Should it be leprechauns?
yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe a skeleton and a leprechaun hat. I do
One of the skins.
I do lurk with a bunch of other paper mini artists, and a lot of times we'll do like a seasonal bundle on our Patreon pages. So
Okay.
like we did release a holiday bundle. We released an April Fool's bundle where all of us draw a themed mini, and then it's all put together in one set. We did a Halloween bundle, which is really fantastic. If you follow me or any other people involved, it had half a dozen Halloween monsters and like 2 maps and models that you could build, and like a soundtrack.
So is there a big D&D papercraft community?
I don't know if it's big. It's very very close knit. So like me and Marshall from Principal Heroes, Kev from Kev's Lounge, Dave Oakham from Oakham Arts, we all kind of lurk together in a Discord, and hang out.
So yesterday we had on 1985 games, and they do like papercraft terrain.
Oh, cool.
Like
It must be Papercraft Week.
it's papercraft week, yeah. So I sometimes I feel like because Ted talks about them so much, sometimes I feel like he's got stock in the company. But no, he uses them in their own games, and it's great. It's easy to transport, like their buildings. You flip them over, and it's the inside from
Oh
the
yeah,
rooftop.
that's so cool.
So do you have it? Is it going to always be minis, or maybe branch out and do some terrain?
Uh, I mean, I'll do some like accessories and stuff. Mostly minis, just because I have a lot more fun drawing monsters than buildings and
Places
stumps.
and yeah.
And so, for my, I was releasing like a lot of just the accessories I was using in my home game. Just
Hmm.
toss them up on Patreon for free. Haven't been doing that because on the home game's mothballed for a while, but stick around. There'll be, once I get up and running again, I'm sure I'll release more neat doodads. you know. But
Nice.
it's mostly monsters. It's also just what I have time to draw and what I use.
So we are up on the hour mark. Final thoughts before we head on out?
uh, yeah, just got a Kickstarter, should be coming out in February. So check out the Geek Tank Games Trash Mob Minis Kickstarter, where it's these little minis, but they're pre-cut, printed on plastic, so they're durable. So yeah, I guess follow me, watch this space, and yeah, check it out.
Sounds awesome. Until next time, everyone, stay nerdy.
Thank you.